Deathloop's September 14th release date is rapidly approaching, and that means it's time to make sure we have everything that we need to know about Deathloop to make sure our arsenal is ready when the game finally does come out. I'll be sure to leave timestamps down in the description below so you can skip around to the bits that you're most interested in. Be sure to let me know, are you excited for Deathloop? Down in the comment section below. Is it a day one purchase for you or not? You're wary of it? I want to know your thoughts on the game so far. Be sure to let me know. So what exactly is Deathloop? Maybe you've come across a trailer or an ad for Deathloop and you're not really sure what it is, what to expect. You've seen past Arcane games and you don't know how this ties into those. We're going to begin with the basics, so you Deathloop experts just hang on tight for a bit, and then we'll start branching into some specifics. Deathloop stars our grouchy party pooper protagonist Colt. Colt is stuck on the island of Blackreef, a mysterious fictional landmass where every 24 hours time resets. Got thrown out of a window? Who cares? Stabbed in the back? It was just a joke, man. Blended into a human smoothie for other people's consumption and enjoyment? Yeah, we need to talk about that one a bit. Everyone is seemingly having their time of their lives, particularly a group of leaders on the island named the Visionaries. I'm not quite sure how visionary they are, considering they live the same day over and over, so I'm not 100% on what they accomplish and what their vision is, but Dinga, maybe you can let me know about this one. The only way to escape the island is to break that loop, and the only way to break the loop is to take out all 8 of the Visionaries. But you better hope you can do it before the day ends, because otherwise, well, time resets and you're set back to square one. Looking at the gameplay at first glance, it looks very similar to its predecessor Dishonored. Even some of the powers in the game function exactly the same way, so veterans of that franchise will feel very at home here. Don't worry if you weren't a fan of its stealth gameplay in Dishonored. Deathloop is geared to be more action-oriented, so if you're terrible at stealth as I am and you wind up guns blazing and killing everything that moves anyway all the time, Deathloop might actually be right up your alley. Stealth is an option, although there's no non-lethal options in the game, so everything that you do, you'll have to end up killing them. No ghost playthrough to worry about, no non-detected playthroughs. Go ahead and feel free to unleash all of the carnage your heart desires. It is Deathloop after all. There's death in the name. So that's basically the premise of the game right there. Of course, you have very wacky characters. Each of the Visionaries have their own very distinct and very unique personalities. The level design has all of the renown and all of the pleasures that typical Arcane games have. So if you're a fan of Arcane games, you're really gonna love this one. If you're new to it, this might be the perfect entry point because it is not as demanding as some of those stealth games, or the perceived demand that you have to do everything perfectly. So with the basic premise out of the way, it's time to talk details. Is it a roguelike? Can I save? How does time, death, and progression work? We're going to be answering all of these questions and more. If there's something that I don't address that you're interested in or curious about, be sure to let me know in the comments section below and I'll answer you as best as I can. Progression in Deathloop was explained to be more horizontal instead of vertical, so not the typical skill trees that you'd see in other RPGs. With several concepts being borrowed from the likes of Prey Mooncrash, you might slip into the thinking that this is a direct roguelike. You die, you repeat, try again, doing the same things over and over, and always starting from zero. While partially that's correct, yes, the die, try again is the core gameplay loop. That's what you're going to find in this game. There is a sense of progression, and you'll even unlock abilities throughout the game that allow you to retain some of your progress, whether it's items, weapons, gear, so on and so forth. We'll talk a little bit more about death in the next point that we're going to be discussing, but for now, when we're talking strictly about progression, not everything will reset between each loop. In fact, through a power called Infuse, Colt will be able to keep certain weapons between them. At a certain point in the campaign, Colt will be able to obtain this element called Residuum. It seems to be the primary currency of the game. Residuum will allow players to permanently unlock their gear and abilities, so gaining these unlocks and being able to pick and choose which weapons you want from the start, that's what's going to help improve your odds as you learn the cycle, as you learn the patterns, the routines. It will help enable you to actually break the loop. And it will also give you that sense of progress of getting stronger, especially when it comes to the adaptive AI, which we'll also talk about. Being able to obtain your gear through loops, collecting residuum, these types of elements is only one part of the progression. The other aspect, the rest of the progression within Deathloop, is the knowledge that you obtain during each run. For example, Throughout your game, you'll come across floating messages. Some of it might seem like jargon, some of it might be hints that are balanced in such a way to not blatantly give you the answer. Deathloop, Arcane, and the rest of the team was very precise in trying to craft the game in such a way that they don't just spill out how to do everything for you, because that's, well, it's a whole mystery of the game. These floating messages, alongside other things you'll come into contact with, whether it's journal entries, computer logs, maybe you overhear NPC dialogue, or even just observe something in the game space, they will be recorded in your journal as discoveries. And these discoveries are permanent and carry over through each run, so that you'll always be able to revisit them, see them, look at what worked, look at what doesn't, and plan new strategies according to what you learn. Deathloop strongly stands behind the fact that knowledge is power, and being sure to remember this knowledge, whether it's an enemy patrol, whether it's a way to get into a building, or a way to distract an NPC, all of these elements will help you to obtain that golden loop, the final cycle that breaks it once and for all. Within each loop, Colt is prepared with what is essentially 3 lives, and he gets this through a power called Reprise. It's one of the first abilities that you'll unlock within Deathloop, and Dinga himself actually alludes to it being a little bit like Bioshock, stating, quote, "It's a little bit like the Bioshock Vita Chamber, but you only have 2 and it's not on a set place, so it will just go back dynamically. Sometimes it will take you back to a situation that's not preferred, but you have a few seconds of invincibility to hide." Hearing anything about Bioshock is always a good thing in my book, so kudos to you, Dinga. Once you run out of those 3 lives, however, the loop will be reset. You'll be sent back to the start. However, the exception is the residuum and the knowledge that you've obtained throughout that's recorded, those discoveries that are recorded in your journal. Other than that, you'll be trying over again. Time is an incredibly important theme in Deathloop, and time is actually intrinsically woven into the different districts of the game, the 4 districts that you can explore throughout Black Reef Island. Now, for those of you who've played Dishonored, you'll remember that sort of missions place you in different areas of the level, and you go around and you're locked to that one level. Deathloop is a little bit different in that it allows you to freely explore whichever areas you would like. You can go to them in any order, and not only can you visit them in any order, time is done in 4 distinct periods. The 4 periods in the game are morning, noon, afternoon, and evening. Moving from one district to another is what will actually advance time to the next period, which means that you're actually free to spend as long as you would like in any given district, and there's no real time-related consequences there. The cool thing about this is that every district has different events going on for each time period, so in some sense you could actually imagine that there's 16 maps. That's not really the case, but you probably get what I'm saying. So, you know, visiting Carl's Bay, for example, in the morning versus the afternoon, you'll see 2 pretty different setups, which will open different avenues for exploration. The example that we've been given is in the morning, you might see that they're setting up a concert. In the afternoon, you go there and the concert's actually in action. Then in the evening, you'll see the aftermath of that concert. And depending on which way you go, you might have a new way to explore. The other way that new routes can be created is based on how you actually influence the game. So there might be a decision that you make in the morning that changes the way events in the afternoon go, creating a new avenue, a new route for you to explore and exploit. Unlike most other modern games, there is no quick save option in Deathloop. I'm going to say that again for all of you in the back. There is no quick save option. That means, sorry, buddy, you can't save, scum. It's not happening. You lose, you get stuck in an uncomfortable situation, you have to deal with the consequences. Unfortunately, the consequence of this is, in order to keep the tension, saving will only occur between each mission, between each loop. So if you happen to quit mid-game, if you're in the middle of a loop and you just have to leave, something's going on, any knowledge, residuum, gear, or other things that you've obtained will also reset. So it's actually your best option if you get put in this situation to find a way to die 3 times quickly and fully reset in order to save the stuff that you've collected. Difficulty in Deathloop is entirely adaptive, as previously mentioned. This means that When you begin the game, enemies will be pretty easy. They'll miss you more often, they won't spot you as easily, they won't be as aggressive towards you. This is so that you as the player can be sure to learn how the game works. How does it function? How do powers work? What's the ins and outs of it? You need to become comfortable with the world of Deathloop and Black Reef. However, as the game progresses, you become more competent at that, difficulty will ramp up. Enemies will become tougher, they'll spot you more easily, they'll hit you more often, and in this way, it keeps tension ongoing, makes the game constantly feeling like a challenge, and you'll always have to make sure that you're on your toes. Just because in the beginning of the game, you were able to sneak past somebody while you were right in their peripheral, or what you thought was their peripheral vision, that's not going to work anymore. Who knows, maybe in the future, they might implement a feature that, say, it caps the difficulty that the NPCs will get. So if you did want an easier playthrough of it, if you did just want to meander your way through the game, through the story that's there, at a certain point, the adaptive difficulty won't progress anymore. Maybe in a future update, but as it stands right now, that's not the case. When it comes to multiplayer, Deathloops is entirely optional. And I'm not speaking that, well, there is single player in the game. You can play it solo, but you know they really mean you should be playing it with friends. None of that. When it comes to Deathloop, it is genuinely entirely optional for you to play with the multiplayer. But it's actually one of the cooler features in the game, and game director Dingabakaba recommends that you do leave it on for the best Deathloop experience. The way multiplayer works is this: while most visionaries are locked to their specific district and they are always NPCs in the game, Juliana behaves uniquely. Not only whether she's player controlled or an NPC can she follow you throughout the map, but just that fact, she can be controlled by a real player. And you do have the ability to toggle this on or off. So if you don't want people invading your game, you don't have to have people invading your game. With the feature enabled, at any given time, somebody can join as Juliana, and then things will get a whole lot more difficult. And if, unlike me, you actually have friends to play games with, then congratulations, there is an option to allow friends to join as Juliana so that you can directly compete against them and see who's better in this game of cat and mouse that's been set up for you. Game length is always pretty important. Well, in an interview with Dinga, Deathloop stated that it will take about the same amount of time as Prey or Dishonored. For what it's worth, Dishonored 2 took around 12 hours for the story and 23 hours for the story and extras, while Prey took about an average of 16 hours and 28 for the story plus extras. Assuming that you're not just looking up guides on how to break the loop and how to play the game, that sounds a bit reasonable in order to find out how to set up the loop in the first place, what to do, get the information, and then actually the time it will take, even when you know what to do, to execute that flawlessly. It's worth bringing up here that there is a story to this game. There are side missions that you go on for a reward or a secret or any other information that might make it easier for you to complete your mission. If you've played Dishonored, you're going to completely feel comfortable when it comes to the powers in Deathloop. Powers are a staple of arcane games, and Deathloop brings in enough old and new to make sure that they shake it up. I won't be covering each individually here. Maybe I can make a video discussing the powers and what they do. Some of you might be interested in that. However, powers are obtained through slabs. Slabs are carried by each of the visionaries. Kill a visionary, you get their slab, the powers are yours. It's as easy as that. Each power uses a mana system. It's just named power, so sorry if it does get a little bit confusing. And Colt has 3 slots, 3 bars of mana that will regenerate over time, and this recharge time can increase or decrease based on certain upgrades that you get throughout the game. From here going forward, we're going to do a little bit of a lightning round, so to speak, so we're going to try to fly through to make this as quick and as brief as possible for you guys. So, how many weapons can you carry in the game? Before you go out on any given loop, you'll have the option to choose your loadout based on the residuum upgrades that you have. Before your loop, you'll be able to carry 3 firearms, 2 powers, and any gadgets you carry all the time with you. So, for example, you get the Hackmajig, This is the actual name, and it does exactly what it sounds like. It lets you hack things. These firearms you're not locked to. Just because you left on a run with certain items doesn't mean you're stuck with them. Whatever you find out in the world, you are able to take with you and trade and that sort of thing. Character skins can be obtained by playing as Juliana. As for weapons, they have 3 levels of quality. There's crap, manageable, and good. And no, those aren't the official names. Good quality weapons come in one of 2 different types of skins, and those aren't ones that you choose. It's just the type that you find in the game world. On the subject of cosmetics, I wouldn't be surprised if some people's minds drifted off to paid skins, loot boxes, that sort of thing, microtransactions. And from what's been stated so far, Dinga has said, quote, "There is no shop or anything like that." I'm happy to hear that the price of the game gives us all of the content, and I look forward to actually being able to unlock things through playing the game as Juliana. It's been quite refreshing to hear that in this age of monetization in games. So kudos to you, Deathloop. Kudos to you, Arcane. Currently, there's no mention of Deathloop DLC or Deathloop expansion content. Arcane is primarily focused on making sure that the game comes out, that it's as polished as possible, that sort of thing. It did go through previous delays, so it's gotten extra polish, and I'm sure that they want to make sure that it lives up to the expectations that delays come with, right? That we will get the crisp experience that will be as bug-free as they possibly can. I'm sure that adding additional visionaries in the future is possible. They might even want to change up the routines of certain visionaries so that it's a little bit different. Hell, what I would love to see in future Deathloop is more expanded multiplayer. Maybe this time around it's limited to just 3 visionaries that Colt has to take out, but all of them are player controlled, and the visionaries have to complete a set of objectives before Colt can take them out. That is a cool idea. I'm giving you this one for free. I would love to see it. So, Deathloop, is it a game that you're looking forward to? Is it something you're going to pick out? Let me know down in the comment section below, and let me know if you learned anything from this video. I really hope it was informative to at least some of you. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please do leave a like on the video. And as always, I hope to see you all next time. So long, everybody.